Okay. All right. So yeah, so my plan was to kind of talk about energy and also losing weight and sleeping better and all of that, and what's like an easy way to do all of that. And then we've had questions about weight loss and menopause. Like we were just chatting before, they all kind of go together. So I wanted to, this is what I give my patients, like when I first meet them in the clinic, when I'm first getting somebody on that journey to reversing whatever process they have, whatever illness, chronic disease, if it's just feeling better, whatever it is, this is like what I start them all off on. And usually you can find an immediate boost in energy, weight loss, better sleep, just sort of everything in general. And so part of that is what, part of that is enzymes. So enzymes, which sounds weird, like what's an enzyme? They're basically catalysts for, why is my, oh, it's not working here, sorry. Enzymes are catalysts for your biological, every process in your body is from enzymes. So they're very important, and they're basically life. They give you life, they give you energy, they give you everything that goes on in your body is an enzymatic process. So whether it's creating energy, proteins, minerals, assimilating stuff, everything in your body is an enzymatic process. So it's really important to have enzymes. The problem is enzymes are very unstable. So any kind of heat, medications, toxins, all of that destroys enzymes. So a lot of chronic disease and anything that's happening in the body is from loss of enzymes. So really important to preserve the enzymes and get a lot of enzymes in your body. So there's different types of enzymes. A lot of people are familiar with digestive enzymes, you know, lipase and amylase and things that are going to digest your food. But there's also metabolic enzymes, and those are what give you life, do the cellular processes. If you have too little of those enzymes, it can create genetic defects, so which we want to avoid. So an easy way that I like to include enzymes, or think about enzymes, is just including more raw food. So they've done studies and they found if you eat at least about 50% of your meal raw, you preserve those enzymes and you don't go into what's called leukocytosis or inflammation. You prevent inflammation from happening. So this is one of the reasons why I tell all my patients to do this, is because you can keep your whatever diet, cultural diet, you know, because I know some people have a really hard time changing their diet, whether it's they have kids or they're traveling, you know, they're cooking for everybody, they're going to family gatherings, and they just can't do like a full, you know, diet and lifestyle overhaul. But if you just add in, so say for breakfast, well, let me first talk about raw food and live food. So you've got live food and you have dead food. So live food is anything that comes from the ground. So you've got your plants, fruits, sprouts, all of that is alive, meaning it has enzymes in it. So when you eat that live food, those enzymes in that live food is digesting for you, is creating energy for you. When you eat food that's dead, so what is dead? Anything that's cooked, denatured, in a box, in a can, meat that's cooked, that's dead, meaning it has lost its enzymes. So even things like yogurt has been pasteurized before you buy it. So it's been heated. Pasteurization is boiling it to get the bacteria off. Then they put the stuff back in, the probiotics and all that back in. But it's more than just the probiotics. It's all those enzymes that create the life in the raw milk or cheese, whatever it is. So the pasteurization really kills a lot of that, the enzymes, which is going to give you the life. So adding in live food. And so even if you're eating dead food, if you add in live food, it's a good way to build that life force. You're essentially adding life force with the enzymes. So anything over about 128 degrees is going to kill the enzymes. So that's why you want to cook low and slow and not that much. So the high heat will change the molecules in the food that you're eating, which can become carcinogenic. So examples of live food. So you've got your fruits, your leaves, your nuts, your seeds, your legumes. You've got flowers, sprouts, roots, bark, sap, stems, water vegetables, and mushrooms. So those are all the categories you can think about for live food. So let's take somebody that has oatmeal for breakfast, which is great, but oatmeal is dead, right? It's been cooked and processed. There's great things about oatmeal, but it doesn't have enzymes. And we're looking for the enzymes for life. We're looking, so a lot of times we get into, oatmeal for breakfast because it's got fiber, or, cutting out sugar, and which I understand that idea, but I really want, and this is what I want my patients to do, I really want them to think about eating life, the enzymes. Those enzymes, if you think more of in terms of eating enzymes, you're going to feed your body those the catalyst for life inside your body that's going to help repair and get everything sparked and moved so you can reverse that process. So when you think of your breakfast, okay, I'm eating oatmeal, that's great. How do I make it live? How can I add in? So you can either add in nuts or seeds, maple syrup that's raw, and same with the nuts and seeds. You don't want roasted, you want, because if you roast them, you kill the enzymes. So you want raw nuts and seeds. Add that to the oatmeal. And that's also like hemp seed, flax seed. You can add maple syrup that's raw, not high heat. Same with honey. You don't want honey that's heated. You want raw honey. Again, people think like, oh, honey and sugar, but you're thinking raw enzymes. You want that magic, to create that spark inside your body. Fruit, of course, you can add fruit. You can add a smoothie. So these are ways to think about adding in. So let's say for breakfast, you have eggs and toast and even bacon. Again, what can you add in that's alive? Avocado, sprouts, again, even a small smoothie. And so I've seen amazing things happen with my patients that are still eating eggs and bacon and maybe things that they shouldn't be eating, or maybe that are not the healthiest. But if you add in those enzymes, it can counteract the negative things that you're eating. So you take a snake eats a rat. The rat's stomach enzymes are digesting the rat for the snake. That's the use of enzymes. So you're conserving, because what happens is over time, when you're eating all this dead food, you're depleting your own internal enzyme bank. And that's aging. That's chronic disease, and just getting older is depleting your enzyme bank. So you want to replenish those enzymes with the food that you eat. You don't want to have to keep using your own enzymes and depleting yourself. So you want to be like a snake and get your enzymes from whatever food that you're eating. So even if you're eating some dead food, that sweet spot is about 50% of your meal. And you can also, so say for like lunch, whatever you're eating, or lunch or dinner, you can also add herbs. Herbs are another nice thing. And it doesn't have to be like, when I say 50%, like you have to eat a whole entire bunch of cilantro or basil. You can, herbs are very powerful, so you don't need that much. And even spices like turmeric and cumin and things like that, you can add to your meal, and it's going to give you that life force. So let's see, any questions? Or does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What about like frozen fruit and frozen veggies? Do they retain enzymes?
They do, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part they do. So that's not a bad thing to consider.
And then you mentioned seeds and like dried seeds and dried nuts and also dried fruits. They retain their enzymes?
Yeah, depending. So you don't want roasted. So you can do raw nuts and seeds. Fruit, dehydrated fruit is usually dehydrated at a higher temperature. So you have to be careful with dehydrated fruit because usually it's done at a higher temp. So like we have our own dehydrator, so we always dehydrate it lower, but you have to do it for a longer time. But yeah, that's the problem with the dried fruit. It's usually at a higher temp, unless you're going to like a health food store where they're telling you, you know, these things are going to be at a lower, you know, retaining the raw element. It'll usually say raw. So raw is kind of what you want to, what you want.
And legumes that are dried still retain their enzymes.
Legumes, you're usually thinking about sprouting.
Yeah.
So like sprouting the lentils, sprouting the seeds, things like that.
So anything that can be sprouted still has its enzymes.
Yes.
Okay.
And sprouts are great because they're like little powerhouses of energy. The seed is putting all of its energy and nutrients into that sprout. So the sprouts are usually almost better than the actual plant because they're so enzymatically strong. They put all that nutritional force into the sprout. And the thing is, sprouts are easy. It's like you don't need any dirt. You can grow them in your house. They're cheap. You know, we just buy a couple trays and a bag of seeds that last for, you know, a long time. And you can put them on anything. You know, you can put them on anything you eat. You know, you have eggs. Okay, great. We'll put some sprouts on there. You have a sandwich. Okay, we'll put some sprouts on there. You know, we put sprouts on everything. You can just take a handful and eat them too. So that's the nice thing about adding in is you're still able to eat your normal meals. Because I get it. It's hard, you know, because there's a lot of people with families and they're all eating different things, or they're traveling or they're working, and to make meals, you know, that's why, well, and not only that, but like culturally people have different diets. So to say everyone has to be vegan and go Mediterranean, especially out here in Hawaii, it's like, you know, the Okinawans, they eat a lot of starches and sweet potatoes and carbohydrates, which is considered bad in, you know, American society, but culturally, this is like what they eat, you know, and there's something to say about that genetic propensity toward eating for your culture. But if you're adding in live food that's congruent with whatever culture you are, everyone can do that. Everyone can benefit. And if you think about how we used to eat, so if you think about, like, say in the South, when you have barbecue chicken, you know, we know barbecue chicken now, or any kind of barbecue meat, creates that carcinogenic compound with the high heat, but they always ate it with coleslaw. And the study shows the cabbage actually neutralizes all that carcinogenic property of the barbecue meat, which is amazing, because how did they even know that those two things canceled each other out, you know? But the problem is now nobody eats the coleslaw. Everyone just eats the barbecue meat, you know? And so if you eat by this principle of always adding in something live, so I've had patients that are like total meat eaters, and they're like, I'm just, you know, I eat a lot of meat. And I'm like, that's fine. Add a cabbage salad. You can just take some cabbage and pour some sesame oil. It's a very Japanese thing. Just plain cabbage with sesame oil. Sesame oil is really good for the heart. Add a little sesame oil, some plain cabbage, and that's going to neutralize any kind of junky thing you just ate, you know, if you want to eat, you know, meat or whatever kind of food, you know? So adding those tricks, I mean, I've seen some amazing results. And of course, the worse your diet, the more benefits you're going to see sooner. So, but sometimes, because I have people that eat pretty healthy and well, but they're not eating a lot of live food, you know? And so really being conscious of the live food, or they're eating roasted nuts, or, you know, just making sure you're really focusing on those enzymes and that enzyme level.
One more question on that.
Yeah.
You mentioned yogurt is pasteurized, milk is pasteurized, cheese is heated, so none of those would have their enzymes. Also flour.
Like wheat flour?
Any kind of flour. Would flours in general have enzymes or no?
No, they're all completely processed. Yeah, wheat and flours are like the worst. I mean, wheat is probably the worst thing, so you want to choose a different kind of flour, but even those flours are going to be processed and heated, and you know, so, and again, it's all perspective too. It's all choices. So I don't want to say like this is always, there are some things that are always bad, like wheat. Wheat is generally, it's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But if you choose, say, like an almond flour or oat flour or some other kind of chickpea flour, or whatever else there is, that's going to be better than wheat. Now, is that better than eating almonds or chickpeas? No. But again, it's levels. So if you're going to make some kind of bread or bake something, it's going to be better instead of using wheat flour to use oat flour. But again, it doesn't mean that oat flour is better than, you know, no flour. So it's all degrees. And
also baking. So baking kills the enzymes.
Yeah.
So chickpeas, any cooked chickpeas are going to have their enzymes killed. Really, a sprouted chickpea is what you want to eat, right?
Yes, exactly.
And not cook it at all.
Right. Right.
Okay. So even with the legumes, we're really talking about sprouted legumes.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is actually really easy too. You know, sprouting, it takes like a day or two, you know, just to sprout. But again, like say we take chickpeas, it's not to say they're bad. So you can make hummus, right? And add garlic. You can put in raw tahini. So it won't be completely raw, but you'll have enough raw elements in there. And then of course, if you try and eat it with like vegetables, like, you know, red peppers or whatever else with the hummus. So again, it's all degrees of adding in. I mean, it'd be great if we could all eat completely raw all the time, which is what our ancestors did. But even I did for a while. I was completely raw for a while, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. The nice thing is you don't have to be to maintain your health. That's the nice part. Our bodies are resilient, and if you give it enough of what it needs, it can manage the bad stuff or the stuff that's going to, you know, derail your health. It can manage that, you know? So that's why having that idea of 51% of your meal raw is a nice way to kind of operate in whatever you're eating. And it's just, I find that it's helpful for anyone, any culture, whatever you're doing, to just find things that are raw. So, you know, you want your fruits, flowers, roots, barks, seeds. Tea is another great thing. Tea is such an underrated raw food. Now you got to make sure that the tea you're getting is good though, you know, because you want to make sure it's organic. You want to make sure that it's sourced well. But
so tea is dried. So tea is dried, but it's not heated.
Depending. So it depends on the company. You know, there's some that are fresher than others, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make your own.
Yeah.
It's hard if it's
And
actually.
even just like, you know, ginger tea, just taking slices of ginger or turmeric. I mean, that's like, or fresh herbs even, and just making your own. That's like a real powerhouse drink, you know, that you can use.
Yeah.
That's underrated. Because again, those herbs and even like ginger with like the bark, that's going to be super concentrated, powerful for your body. So sometimes just adding that to a meal. And then what happens is, as you start adding in, you eventually slowly start crowding out. That's just like a natural thing that happens. So I always tell people, keep eating what you're eating. Don't change, just add in. And then they start feeling better, more energized, you know? And as you start feeling better, you naturally notice that you don't want some of these other things that you may have been eating because they slow you down. That's why, like, after Thanksgiving, you've had basically a bunch of dead food and you just want to take a nap because your body is trying to metabolize all that dead food and using your own stores of energy to digest and metabolize. So using food's enzymes to metabolize is like you're stealing their energy for yourself, essentially. So yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. And other animals, like I was saying, snakes, you know, other animals do that all the time when they eat their kill whole. They use the animal's enzymes to digest. Let's see, anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, and then in Chinese medicine, raw food is considered shen energy. Shen is like the glow energy. So raw food is always considered good shen energy. And then I was going to mention too about drugs. So like pharmaceutical drugs, they also kill enzymes. They act as inhibitors to your enzymes. So the problem happens when you're on any kind of pharmaceutical drug, it's depleting you even more. So even more important to add in those live foods to build up your enzyme store. And that's why too, so another easy way, so adding into each meal, but the other thing I recommend to my patients is green juice in the morning, especially because green juice is alive. You don't want pasteurized, again, green juice. So a lot of these juices are pasteurized. So that's why I recommend Suja, S-U-J-A. They sell it at Costco. It's pretty common, but they do a low heat pasteurization. So all the enzymes are still alive. But the nice thing with juicing, as opposed to blending, is if you've ever juiced anything, you can take like a bag of oranges and you end up with a glass that big, right? Hard to eat that many oranges, but drinking a glass is easy. Same thing with greens. You can take 2 to 4 pounds of vegetables, run it through a juicer, and you've got a glass this big. Now you're not getting the fiber, but you're getting the enzymes and all those live phytonutrients, chlorophyll, all those trace minerals, everything in those greens. And you're getting some soluble fiber as well, not the insoluble, but you're getting soluble fiber. All of that, you've essentially ingested 2 to 4 pounds of vegetables in a glass. And that's all raw live enzymes. So that alone is going to get your day. You're going to have a lot of energy just starting your day with that. Now, then there's blending, like in a smoothie where you're putting in frozen fruits and vegetables and things like that. That's great as well. You're getting the fiber. So it's going to be more filling. But that's why I recommend the green juice and the smoothie, because both of those are going to be raw and they're going to fuel you and energize you. And they're going to kind of balance out whatever else you're eating through the day. So those are kind of my easy ways to really boost your enzymes for the day. So I do a green juice every morning, and then I do a smoothie as well. So yeah. Any other, what are your thoughts? Does that make sense?
Nancy,
Yeah.
you mentioned the Suja, the
Suja.
green juice, the Suja. Yeah. So is it recommended to drink that in the morning just so we have that energy to carry us through the day? How much do you drink? Like a whole glass of it, or?
So I usually do it in the morning because I feel like it really gets me going. Like you can drink it anytime, whatever works for you. But I just find that it's good in the morning to get me going, and then drink as much as you can. So usually people that aren't used to drinking or having greens, it could be a little bitter. Suja, they put a little, I think they have some apple in it to give it a little sweetness. So if you're not used to it, it may be a little bitter with the greens for you. And I just say start small. Just a lot of it too is getting your palate adjusted to different flavors and flavors of greens, and just work your way up. I usually do about 16 ounces, you know, like a big glass, 12 to 16 ounces. And yeah, that works.
Do you add anything to it? Do you add anything to it? Like squirt some like lemon juice or anything?
I don't.
Or?
I add a little biosil, which is a trace mineral. It's has silica in it. And the reason I do that is silica, like you get those little silica packets in food and stuff because it kind of helps keep the moisture out. So silica acts as a binder in our body. And so it's a gentle binder. So it binds to aluminum and some of those metals in our body, and it flushes them out. So it's advertised for like skin, hair, and nails, but I use it up for the binder reason. So I just put 3 drops in it. But other than that, I don't put anything in there. What were you going to say, Rebecca?
I have a question about sugars. So if I have a big giant green juice every day and a big smoothie every day with bananas and cashews and fruits and apples and pears and stuff like that, do you think that's giving my body too much fructose or too much sugar, or is that okay?
No, it's fine. I think the problem is we get so into these macronutrients, you know, like sugar, fat, protein, and there's so many little chemicals in our foods, especially the fruits and vegetables, that are working through our cells and our DNA that are helping us. The sugar is just part of it. The thing is, well, one, we need sugar. Our bodies need sugar. Nobody became sick eating too much fruit. Nobody became diabetic from eating too much fruit. Once you're already diabetic, you have a problem processing the sugar, but the sugar isn't causing the diabetes. The diabetes was caused by a malfunctioning receptor that can't process the sugar, not the sugar itself. So the sugar never caused the diabetes. It was the inflammation to the receptor for the insulin that caused the diabetes. Because of that, you then have a problem metabolizing that sugar. So if you're already diabetic, you want to, make sure everything's balanced. But eating a lot of fruit in general isn't going to cause diabetes or cause any problems.
Okay, good to know. So if I had like lemon water, warm lemon water with honey for breakfast, and then had a green juice like around 10, and then had a smoothie or whenever I got hungry for lunchish, and then had a regular dinner, that would be a good kind of day.
That's ideal. Yeah.
That's an ideal day.
Yeah. And then anything you eat, not McDonald's, but anything you eat otherwise, those things are going to help counteract that to hopefully then prevent the inflammation to then cause the diabetes or whatever.
Right. So if you make bad food choices like, fast food or soda, the smoothie and the green juice will counteract it.
Yes.
And protect your body from that bad choices.
Yes. But
and hopefully keep you full.
At the same time, it's not a reason to cheat by having green juice. I mean, I guess it could, but I guess the idea too is hopefully you won't be craving it as much also.
Right.
Like
if you're full.
You're fueling your body, because that's the other thing that happens is when you give your body all the nutrients it needs, it doesn't want to snack because it's satisfied. It's, when you're eating these foods that are not real foods and that are dead, your body thinks it's getting stuff, but it's not getting any nutrition or enzymes. And so it's like wanting more and more. And then on top of it, you've got all the food chemicals that these companies pay, chemists lots of money to stimulate our brains to want more and more of these foods. So that's a whole other thing too. So there's a lot of aspects to the eating, the process, the dead foods. It's not only lack of enzymes and chemicals, but also how it's rewiring the brain. It's changing your taste buds, all of it changing the microbiome and the gut. So it's not like you're a weak person for craving these things. You know what I mean? It's like the biology has changed. And so this is a nice way to try and get back to, innate biology. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Was that helpful at all?
I thought it was really helpful. I eat a lot of vegetables, but I steam them and cook them, and I eat a lot of greens, but and I think I'm doing the right thing, because I'll take like a huge thing of greens and I'll steam them down, and then I'll eat them all, and I'll think, oh, that was so healthy, without realizing I just killed probably the best, most important part of them. I just really wasn't. And actually, they're really nice baby power greens, organic baby power greens. So I can certainly eat them as a salad. They're not huge pieces of, something that needs to be cooked down to be edible, kale or something like that. So I can definitely do it. So I think it was a really good reminder. I really wasn't thinking about live food.
And you can still cook vegetables and eat them, but just try and think of,
50%. Yeah.
Okay. But just try and think overall of what you're eating. So if you still enjoy cooked vegetables, of course, try and cook them less, on the lesser side. And especially with like steaming and boiling, you don't want all those nutrients ending up in the water. And then just try and add some stuff in the morning, like a green juice or a smoothie, like something really raw that you're going to get. And then with when you're cooking stuff too, add your herbs and spices after. So if you make a soup or you're cooking, don't put the herbs on when you're cooking them. Put it on after it's cooked, because then those things are alive and they're going to not get cooked out as well. So just try and be mindful of keeping those enzymes, so especially with like cooking vegetables, you're not going to cook all the enzymes out. There's still going to be some, but over a certain temperature, the longer it goes, the more and more they're going to get denatured. So you can still, cook your vegetables, but just try and not do it as long. Add herbs on after, and then add in maybe some other live stuff to it, But yeah, it's just kind of trying to keep all that in your head. Yeah.
I have one more question about spices. You mentioned that spices retain their enzymes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even dried, powdered spice.
And of course, you want to think about the shelf life.
Okay.
Then you have to think about the company. Some of them aren't as good at, you know, processing their spices. In general, yes, spices are great, but again, be mindful of the companies you're purchasing and making sure that they're not super processed. But again, one spice, having a spice is better than no spice, even if it's processed.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's sort of like looking at the big picture. It's like juicing, you know, like I hear people like, oh, I don't have a slow masticating juicer. It's not going to work as well. It heats it up, this and that. But to me, it's like any juice you make or drink is better than, you know, the best juice is the one you're going to make, you know. So, yeah, you just have to kind of look at it overall. So if you're going to use cumin and turmeric and garam masala and all these other nice spices, and even if they're not from the best, you know, company, it's still going to be better to get those things in your body than none at all. Because diversity is also important. You know, you want to get those colors and variety, because we tend to eat like 5 different things, you know? And so it's really nice to get that. And that's why I like smoothies, is because you can get all different colors in there. You can add stuff, you know, and not even really taste it. You can add like cardamom is like such a nice spice. So good for your gut, for your tummy and bloating. And it's a nice thing to add to smoothies and get that in your diet. Because otherwise, like, well, it's kind of hard to cook with. I guess you can put it in rice, but yeah. Turmeric, put that in smoothies. You have hemp seed, all those goodies. It's just a nice way to supercharge everything into it. The cold, Rebecca?
It's cold. It snowed today at the ranch.
Oh my God.
First time ever.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
Santa Barbara.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Where are you?
Excuse me, in LA. But
Okay,
it's very
cool.
cold here today. Like the high, like it's like right now it's like 40. It's what, not even 6 o'clock. And I think it's like in the 40s. It's like 46 or 48.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's free. I mean, to us, this is freezing.
Yeah, that's pretty cold.
Nancy, is it warm there?
Yeah, I mean, it's warmer than that, but it's kind of chilly for us. It's like 75, which is
wow.
a little chilly, you know.
That sounds
Thank
nice.
you so much, Nancy, for all the good information. I really appreciate it. When's your next lecture? Probably
next week. I'm thinking like try every Thursday and see how it goes. Is any thoughts or things that you want me to talk about? I mean, I have some ideas of things I want to talk about, but I'm also happy to talk about other things.
I guess, like, how many supplements should I be taking? You know what I mean? Like, should I take 3? Should I take 12? Should I take 62? Like, is too much? Is it hard on your kidneys? Are you peeing out, you know, money when you're taking too many? So I guess that would be an interesting topic.
Okay. That's good.
I was going to actually ask the same thing. If you can talk about even just like the basics of, like, if, excuse me, for somebody that doesn't take any vitamins or any supplements, like what would be, like, not to overwhelm myself, like I have to go buy 100 different things, but what would be like a good starting point, like a multivitamin? Well, how do I know which one to buy that's not filled with all these chemicals, or just kind of like a good way to start out? Yeah. Or what are like the important ones that I could take?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. I can definitely do that. Also, that's actually good too, because I don't know if you guys are aware of FullScript, but it's like a supplement site. And so I have an account through there, And if you sign up through a provider, you get like 10% off automatically. But I just got a message from them saying that they're going to be having an event where it's like an extra 10%, which I think would then make it like 20%. I'm not sure exactly, added on to whatever. So that might be good, because then if you wanted to get something, at least get it during the discount, you know, they're going to have a sale. But yeah, so that's good, because I get a lot of questions on supplements.
And if they're actually needed, maybe they're not needed. Maybe you can, if you ate enough fruits and vegetables.
It's unfortunate, but our fruits and vegetables, the soil is so depleted that the fruits and vegetables today don't even have the same nutrients even 30, 50 years ago. Definitely not 100 years ago. So it's just unfortunate. You kind of have to supplement, because I mean, because I get a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you know, I eat healthy, I get everything from my diet, but between the lack of nutrients in our soil to our plants, and then on top of it, toxins in the environment, in the air, and everything we put on our skin and our hair and our body, that's also leaching nutrients. And then, like I was talking about with the enzymes, if you're on medication, the medication is leaching your micronutrients. So unfortunately, we don't live in a world where, I mean, some people could get away with it, but you got to be really healthy, you know, be on no medication, exercising, eating nearly perfect. It's just not a lot of people, you know.
Don't you think soil science has gotten better, though, even since 40 years ago? I mean, don't you think like a good organic farm today is producing better produce than 40 years ago, when they didn't know as much about soil science and nutrients in the soil?
Possible. It's just not that many. There's just not that many that are doing. It's like the small farms are, and those are going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
But the problem is glyphosate is everywhere. Roundup is sprayed on everything. And if you're completely avoiding wheat, any kind of wheat product, you're doing a good job of avoiding Roundup. But if you're having any kind of wheat, even if it's organic, you're eating Roundup. And that also is with soy. So any kind of soy product. Oats is another big one. It's like 99% of sugar beets too, and corn. So those if you're eating any of those that aren't organic, you're eating Roundup, and that's just gonna eat through your gut flora, and it's gonna make DNA changes too, epigenetic changes in your body. So it's just we need to get our soil back in shape desperately. We have the science for sure, but we need more farmers to implement. And that's why using our dollars to buy the things that are good are going to, because I remember even just like, what was it, 10 or so years ago, organic was like super expensive and you couldn't find it everywhere. And now look, it's like more than half the stuff at Costco is organic. So, and that's all monetary, using your dollars to speak, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. This was so useful, really, and inspiring. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping.
And a lot of stuff I didn't know. So, yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that was my goal. I'm glad. I never know like what people know, what people want, what's helpful. So that's great. That's why I figured I'd do these things, because then I can kind of like figure out, what do people want to know? What do they want to hear about?
Yeah, I'm wide open too, because I didn't know what you were going to talk about today, and I found it to be like really important. So I'm wide open to whatever you want to talk about next week.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah. All right, you guys, that was fun. Thanks for your interaction too. It's always so much easier for me to like interact than just like talk at something, at a screen.
Yeah.
So,
well,
cool.
thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah.
And also it helps too, like for us to be, you know, between now and next week when we can meet with you again, to be more aware of what it is that we're eating.
Yeah.
Putting into our bodies, because I think, for at least I'm speaking for myself, like I think a lot of the times I'm just eating so I know that I've eaten and I feel full, and I'm not even really aware of what it is I just crammed into my mouth.
Yes.
So taking this in baby steps is good.
Yeah. Just live food.
Excuse me.
Eating the same thing, just add in the live food.
Yeah.
And then so next week also let me know how it goes, and if you have questions or any little hang-ups with what happened this coming week with adding in the live food and all that, you know.
Nancy, is the only place we can get that juice at Costco? Do you know, or can we get it elsewhere?
No, they have it other places. It's just cheap. You know, it's I think it's like $9 or $10, but you get the big bottle. I mean, it costs you more than that to buy all the organic produce yourself. So it's pretty good, but you can get it at Whole Foods. I think even Target sell it, but it's the smaller.
Vons has it too. Regular bottle for $9.
Okay, I'll check it out just because I don't have a Costco membership, but I'll look at the other places.
Yeah, they sell it. It's actually pretty ubiquitous now. It's in a lot of places. I just mentioned Costco because it's cheap, you know, and most people go to, at least here, everyone goes to Costco.
Yeah, regular grocery stores have it too now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And they have other kinds. There's like the Mighty Dozen, which has an apple. There's the Uber Greens, which has grapefruit. It's a little more gnarly. And then there's some other, they've got carrots, you know, they've got some other ones too. But the Mighty Dozen, yeah, the Mighty Dozen is their, I think, a nice green juice because they put an apple in there. So there's a little bit of sweetness. So start with that one. The Uber Greens, I like the Uber Greens, but it has grapefruit in it. So if you're not used to green juice, it might be a little too much to start with. Yeah. So try the Mighty Dozen.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that info about juice too, because I've always been very much like, no, juice is not good. It's too concentrated. It doesn't have enough fiber. But I never thought about it from the point of view of just all the live stuff that you're getting and all the like phytonutrients and the enzymes that you're getting in juice. I never really thought about it from that point of view. So you kind of maybe started me changing my mind on juice too.
I mean, you don't want to do like the main brand orange juice, things like that, because those are pasteurized. You want to do the unpasteurized or low heat, like the ultra, I forget what they call it, the slow pressed, you know, which Suja does. Some of the other ones do not, you know, like the Adwala and, you know, there's other juices out there. They're pasteurized. So there's not many that you can get that aren't pasteurized. You have to look. I think even a pressed juicery they might be slow pressed, but they're not organic. And that's the other thing you have to be careful with, because if they're not organic, it has Roundup glyphosate in it. And you don't want to mainline glyphosate, you know. So that's why I like the Suja, because it's organic and slow pressed. So
I'm gonna look for that either tonight or tomorrow, so I can start having that for breakfast.
There you go.
So, you know, I want to start feeling the difference.
Yes, you will definitely feel more energized for sure.
And maybe that will also help quiet down these intense sugar cravings that I have. And I'm not talking about sugar cravings of like, oh, I'm craving an apple or I'm craving some blueberries. I'm talking about Kit Kat, Reese's, all that stuff that makes me feel horrible. So thank you so much. So helpful.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was great.
Nancy, can you stay on for a second after you stop? Just because I want to just.
All right, I am going. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kitty.
Bye-bye.